Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Today is Thursday, July the 18th, 2024 for you. It is the evening of Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 for us. Please keep that in mind moving forward. If we mess up and say today, yesterday, or tomorrow. Fantastic show for you during this dead period of recruiting. Why? Because we've got Big Cat coming up in about 8, 9, 10 days, whatever it is.
Yeah, man.
According to the calendar, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get the questions from the corner. And here to do it all with me is Mr. Cole Pinkston and Mr. Alan Head, also known as the A-Head.
Woo!
How about you, fellas?
How about you?
How about you, big dog?
I'll tell you what, Alan, somebody owes you, I think, $1, and we'll get to that in the how about yous because it was a good one. And they also owe you $1.
Okay.
I liked your response even better, Cole.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this yet, so I'm ready for this one to come out.
Okay. We're going to get to that. We'll get to that, folks. We're going to got a lot going on when recruiting, a lot of quarterback recruiting talk going on right now, a lot of buzz surrounding 3 top targets. Yep. We're going to get to all that, I'm sure, in questions from the corner. But before we dive in head first to those questions from the corner, if you're in or around Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, you're looking to move, you're looking to buy a home, look no further for the help you need, folks. I promise you, Miss Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group will help you out and more. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. A lot of fours in that number, Mr. A-Head, but she is a 5-star realtor. If you don't believe me, just ask me. And call me a liar. I'll take that up with Mr. A-Head.
There you go.
I'll give you the A-Head. For real though, she is fantastic. I know because I see her do it every day. I see what I see the length she goes to for her customers, and so do they. Go check her out on Zillow if you don't believe me. She is actually literally a 5-star realtor. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. And of course, as always, tell her we sent you.
I'm going to call it giving them the Kel Ellis now. That's where I'm going with it.
Oh,
yeah.
Kel Ellis.
Yes, the Kel Ellis.
I mean,
the fine young gentleman.
To be fair, he saw your haircut and he was like, well, I'm going with that.
You think that's what it was?
I think so.
Where's Kel from?
Tennessee somewhere, right?
No, he's from Cass, Georgia.
Okay.
I think that's the name of the school, but I'm not sure what the city is.
Cass High School. It is Canton, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Canton, Georgia. Cass High School. That was not be on my multiple choice options. Boy, I tell you what, I like him, by the way.
Ooh.
Oh, yes, me too.
Hey.
Center of the future?
Let me tell you something. You got you something. You got you something right there.
To go from Connor Lew to that young man,
yeah.
Jake Thornton's doing something right here.
So Connor will be a junior. I'm sorry. Connor will be a senior when Kale's a freshman.
Correct. If he stays all 4. Now, there's nothing to say. I mean, because if he's a 3-year starter in the SEC, there's the potential he could go pro after his junior year, right?
Is Connor the NFL prototype physically at center? I mean, he's pretty small.
You know,
whatever that means.
As much as I pride myself with O-line, I don't really know what the prototype for center is in the NFL. I think it ranges, doesn't it?
Is it 6'3", 290?
I would say probably 300, a little lower, 300 plus.
A little stump.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jason Kelsey, you look at that guy. He's not. I mean, he's not built anything special at all. But he's the best center out there. He was before he retired. He's one of the best. I think Connor Lew's probably close to his build.
I mean, and it all probably depends on the kind of scheme you're trying to utilize. I mean, if we're talking about like the old Mike Shanahan days where you're trying to run a lot of outside zone, things of that nature, where you want offensive linemen that are extremely athletic that can get out on the perimeter, he probably is going to fit in a scheme like that. If you're more run play action heavy, where you've got guys that are really trying to pass set, maybe he's not the prototypical type. So I think it all depends on the offensive mind, what the kind of system they're going to utilize. But I do believe he's got pro potential, that's for sure.
Kel Ellis, part of Auburn's 2026 class, if they're already building and expecting some additions in the next couple of weeks. I think Jamichael Garrett is one option, one possibility. Hezekiah Harris is a possibility. Shadarius Tootle is a possibility. We'll see how everything shakes out. Zealous Jones, is he a possibility? Zealous Hicks, I'm sorry.
Zealous Hicks. maybe. Wouldn't count it out.
All of those guys are expected to attend Big Cat Weekend next weekend. So Saturday week, as my father would say. Saturday week.
Whew.
All right, now we can sit here and talk and babble on about what we want to, but we don't have to because we have some of the more knowledgeable, patient, understanding, logical fans on the interwebs at the Auburn Live on 3 website. The Corner is our message board. If you haven't already, go check it out. It is, if nothing, entertaining.
Yeah, no
Auburn
doubt.
Live on 3. For the YouTube folks, use the promo code AU1. You get 2 months for $1. Hell, that'll get you into the season. And I promise you after that, you'll be like, this is worth about $10 a month. Go ahead and sign me up. All right, let's go Big Sexy for AU. All right, folks, here we go. Quarterback, we're jumping right into it. Deuce Knight, who is committed to Notre Dame, 4-star quarterback from Mississippi, committed to Notre Dame, friends with Caleb Cunningham, friends with Alvin Henderson, friends with some other guys.
Sure.
Auburn note. Let's see. Is Deuce Knight more likely now because he's shown increased interest or because Texas decided not to let KJ Lacey get away? So I think he's saying is Deuce Knight, is our opinions on Auburn's chances with Deuce Knight higher now because of increased interest or because Texas or Lacey is like, hey, I'm done?
I think it's increased interest in both. You know what I mean? I think Auburn is recruiting equally hard. I mean, both equally hard right now because of the pivot from Juju Lewis. Now, I think they're still recruiting Juju, but I do believe that they are open to all 3 candidates at this point and not just one candidate in particular. And so because of that, the odds have increased that, you know, Deuce is potentially more interested in Auburn because we've ramped things up with him. So, and when I say we, I mean Auburn. But it's hard to kind of answer that, but I don't think KJ Lacey in any way, shape, form, or fashion has told Auburn, no, don't recruit me. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he is firmly committed to Texas at this point. He may be. I may be completely off base here, right? But I think Auburn is equally pursuing both of those quarterbacks. I still think they've got communication going on with Juju. And as I said on the call-in show, I think Auburn is very confident that they're going to have a lot of their top targets at Big Cat. And of those top targets, I believe they think they're going to have a quarterback there. And what quarterback that's going to be, I don't know just yet. But I think as we get into next week, we'll know a lot more about that.
Cole, you've had a couple of updates this week on quarterback recruiting. Where do you stand as of Wednesday night?
Yeah, I think Deuce Knight's more likely now because I do believe there's mutual interest there. Not that there isn't with Lacey, but I think there is with Deuce Knight and Auburn. And I think there was a while back. You could go. We have a post from Chad Simmons where he said, look, this is heating up with Auburn and Deuce Knight. For whatever reason, both parties went separate ways. Not necessarily. They kept communication. Yeah, it fizzled. That's the best way to put it. I think it's ramping back up, personally. I think that there's an appeal to wanting to get back closer to home for a guy like Deuce Knight. Same for KJ Lacey, by the way. So I think that those two have always been there. We just haven't talked about them that much. More so Lacey than Knight. I think Knight's more of a reemergence than Lacey is because I think Lacey's been there the whole time. But I will say this, guys, probably as about the time you're watching this podcast, I'm going to have a story out called Level of Commitment. And we're going to really cut down and look at Auburn's commits and put a percentage on it, see how firm they are in our opinion.
Love it.
You're going to be surprised by a few of them.
Oh.
So, listen, don't be surprised if there are guys out there that are not firmly committed that may have been committed for a long time. This is the game we're playing now. All right?
I don't think
said on the call-in show, a commitment means you're leading. That's about it.
Correct.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as a done deal in recruiting. And I don't even think it's a done deal when the ink dries either, like it used to be.
It is for about 6 months, right? Maybe not even that long.
Well, we'll see what potential guidelines are going to be moving forward as it pertains to portal windows. But I'm with you, right? The wrong assistant coach gets fired in between when you sign and then the first portal window opens. And guess what? I guess you can hit the portal, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing that says you can't transfer multiple
What
times.
about old Cuz that signed with Alabama, transferred to Iowa, and then was back at Alabama before the semester started?
Yep. It took Iowa's $100K and then went right back to
Cade
Tuscaloosa.
Proctor, was that him?
Cade Proctor, yeah. Caden
Yeah.
Proctor.
Man after my own heart.
I'm telling you, right?
And wallet.
Yes.
All right, good stuff, Big Sex. Appreciate you, Big Dog. J Bird 80. Will Deuce Knight a drop? This is a good question, man, because when we were talking quarterbacks, I was thinking about this.
Right.
Yeah.
What other assets do each of these guys provide? Will Deuce Knight attract top wide receiver talent on the same level as a KJ Lacey or a Juju Lewis?
Well, yes. I think yes is the answer. I mean, he just made what #1 freak for Charles Power on 3.
Yes.
Freak of I don't remember how he worded it, but basically the ones that have the best numbers, right? His
Testing.
measurements, testing numbers. His measurements, 40 time, broad,
think-
all that stuff is elite for him.
Best overall is how he put it, I think, is what Charles Power put on him.
Hmm.
But either which way you slice it, as it pertains to like industry wide, Deuce is a top 5 quarterback, maybe top 6.
Yeah.
At this point, he actually has a higher ranking than Juju Lewis because of Juju's slide on both 24/7 and on 3.
He does.
So if you're looking at it from the vein of a splash, absolutely, it's going to get wide receivers' attention. Is he as connected as Juju Lewis? I think they're connected with different players. If you look at who Auburn's top wide receiver targets are, Derek Smith, I think it would be very appealing to play with a guy like either KJ Lacey or Deuce Knight.
Yeah.
If you look at Caleb Cunningham, obviously from the same state of Mississippi, that would make a lot of sense to me that Deuce Knight and him have some kind of a relationship together. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I do believe that Deuce Knight and KJ Lacey are appealing to several wide receivers. Are they appealing to the same set of wide receivers we would have been recruiting with Juju? Probably not. But that doesn't mean, like we've talked about all the time, right? It's not about the players you don't land. It's about the players you do. And can they play in this league and provide championship level depth? And I think that you could attract championship level wide receiver play with either of those 3 quarterbacks that you're recruiting right now.
I tell you what, I didn't realize on 3 was so high on this kid.
Yep.
How about
Very
top
high.
100, no matter what site you look at, he's top 100.
And top 5 quarterback, no matter what site you look at.
Correct.
So I think when I think of Deuce Knight and wide receiver, I'm thinking Caleb Cunningham. I honestly think Deuce and Juju would attract more top talent than KJ. And I'm not saying he wouldn't. I'm just saying, hey, guys, if I would say Juju 1, Deuce Knight 2, only because of his personal relationship there with Caleb Cunningham.
Right.
Well, I think the question you probably ask is, well, what state does Auburn need help in? I think that matters. And right now, Alabama is not really this. I mean, they're doing well in Alabama. They're gonna win some of those for sure. Maybe most of the battles in the state. So Mississippi is a state we know that Hugh Freeze is gonna, he's gonna hone in on it at times. And you got Caleb Cunningham over there, AK Deer. Don't forget about him. I mean, well, we know how much Auburn likes him. Bottom line, so. There's some, and then Mississippi's going to have more talent in the next class too, and maybe that helps with that.
Sure, and I think either which way, again, it helps your pitch just to have a quarterback period that you can outline to these guys and say, "Hey, this is going to be who's feeding you the ball." It just makes your pitch so much more effective when you can actually put quantifiable proof behind it and say, "This is the guy. This is who we're building around. This is who's going to be in your class. This is who's with you for the next 3, 4." I mean, that's probably a lie because they may be there for the next year or 2, but that's the pitch, right? You know what I mean? That's the guy that's going to be there with you for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, Slim Dusty, are you guys hearing the same stuff about Naeem Offord and Auburn really pushing the hardest for him? Naeem offered the 5-star cornerback from Parker High School in Birmingham, who is committed to Ohio State. Are you guys hearing the same stuff? What's the stuff?
Well, here's the bottom line with that. What state is Auburn putting the most emphasis on under Hugh Freeze?
Alabama.
State of Alabama.
Who's the #1 prospect in Alabama?
Naeem Offord.
Say no more. Say less. Yeah. Isn't that what you say, Jeffrey? Say less.
That's it.
Yep.
Say less, fam.
I think who was it that had a national report that stated that Oregon and Auburn were chasing Ohio State? Somebody had a report that stated that and felt as though that those were the contenders if anybody could flip him. At this point, I still think Naheem's probably going to land out of state at Ohio State. I think that's probably where he's going to stick. But again, Cole, you just said it. The emphasis that Hugh Freeze is putting on recruiting the state of Alabama is pretty much, he's all in. There's no question that he's going to give it everything he's got. And so for that matter alone, you probably have a chance going down the stretch. And how Auburn performs this season will probably affect that recruitment, I believe.
Yeah.
Justin, 3636. Latest on Andrew Babalola. I think he's a 5-star offensive tackle, is he not?
He is.
4-star interior offensive lineman Malachi Goodman. And the current feeling is what it is for both of them. Cole.
Yeah, Andrew Babalola. Tell you what, I think Auburn's biggest competition is Michigan. That's where I stand as of today. Stanford's been that school. I know. I understand the pull to Stanford. I realize Auburn's lost an offensive lineman to Stanford in a recruiting battle before. I think Andrew Babalola's looking at Michigan pretty hard, and that's going to be a tough one to beat. But I do think, and I will continue to say that I think Auburn is in this recruitment more than maybe perceived. Just perceived.
Yeah, I think the national guys, Steve Wiltfong, Chad Simmons, more so with Steve, is that it's Michigan and Stanford with Auburn chasing, and then for Malachi Goodman, who is committed. No, he's not committed.
Nope, he's open.
No, he's not.
I think the Penn State is the perceived team to beat.
Penn State is the perceived team to beat with him.
Michigan in there too. USC,
no,
okay.
USC has entered the mix. I don't expect Georgia to be a part of that recruitment too much.
Right.
And Auburn is the third team there. And I think Auburn's in it very much so. I don't hear much about him these days. He's pretty quiet about how he goes about things. But USC definitely, I think, probably in the mix now more than they were.
Put me as one that's very interested to see how Malachi Goodman's recruitment goes. I think that's one that Auburn can really kind of make a head turn on. I'm with you on Babalola. I have thought for a while that Michigan was going to be the team that was going to be the hardest to beat. It's the best combination of football and academics and the closest in proximity to home for him.
Yeah.
All that being said, I think Auburn has done a really good job from the relational aspect of things. That Jake Thornton has done a great job with him. That's everything that I've heard. And obviously Stanford's academics. And to a degree, I think Missouri and Oklahoma both think that they're in it as well. I think that's been reported by their side. So probably some disinformation out there. And I'm going to be interested to see, look, guys, for those that don't pay attention to this, Cole has been locked in on this for a while now. I trust his read on this situation implicitly. So I think there's very much the chance that Auburn is in a much better spot than a lot of people are giving him credit for. But from my end, I think Malachi Goodman's one that Auburn's going to get really into the mix with here going down the stretch.
At the very worst case, in the very worst case scenario for both of these guys, Auburn's in the top 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think so.
I think I would go as far to say Auburn's maybe top 2 for both of them. Right. Last cycle it was Josh Aldridge that was on a heater, and this cycle it's been Jake Thornton. So does that momentum continue? It's something else to keep in mind as well when looking at those two, I'd say.
And also, well, I know Andrew Babalola is not so much on NIL, but you can tell what Auburn is willing to maybe go beyond in NIL when it comes to positions of need. We saw that last year with wide receivers. We know that this year offensive line class is a high, if not number one priority. So we'll see how that turns out. I think the draw, I think Michigan. I think it was Steve Wilfong. Michigan was the number one public school,
yes,
in the country, and obviously is coming off a national championship. So, like Mr. Allen had said, the combination there doesn't get much better.
Right,
much better than Auburn right now. Much better.
Tell you what, I'm not ready to call one of those schools on him though. Not there yet. I can't call Auburn. I can't call Michigan. Can't call Stanford. That's where it's at.
I'm with you on that. I think if I'm doing just gut feel, I'm going Michigan at this point. But to say that my intel is driving that pick, that would be completely false at this point.
Right on.
Yep.
Let's see. Russ. Better chance Auburn ends up with Derek Duke Smith, the 4-star wide receiver from Selma, who is committed to Alabama, or Daryl Duke Johnson. The Dukes, the Battle of the Dukes. Put your Dukes up. He is, I think he's from Beaufort. Daryl Duke Johnson.
He's from
Grayson.
Eastman, Georgia.
Eastman, that's what I said.
Yes.
Eastman. And then he's committed. Both of those guys are committed to Alabama. Both of them were at least tentatively planning on being at Big Cat. I'd be surprised if has anybody heard any different.
So I think Alabama's cookout, their championship
Sunday.
is Sunday, and Auburn's Big Cat weekend is Saturday. So
Yeah.
this is the first time in a while they're not going head to head on this deal.
Say scared, big dog. Say you scared. So knowing that, I would be surprised if both of those guys aren't at Big Cat.
I agree. Go
right
ahead.
now, I'm gonna go with the one I feel the best about showing up to Big Cat weekend, and that's Derek Smith.
Agreed.
But I wouldn't rule out both of them going.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm with you, Cole, and I put it in my mock class. I thought that Auburn is in a better position with Duke Johnson than people think, and I actually projected Derek Smith to Auburn in that class. I really do think that that Charles Kelly and Marcus Davis are doing a great job recruiting him. That Hugh Freeze is heavily involved there, and we'll see. Right, to tell you that I'm 100% certain that he's going to be there, that would be a lie. But to tell you that I feel like Derek Smith's going to be there, yeah. And I think there's a better shot with him as of today than there is with Duke Johnson.
And visits are a lot about relationships. So these guys have these relationships. Derek Smith with Charles Kelly, with Marcus Davis. It's almost out of respect, if nothing else. I'm going to come visit because you asked me, and I've got a good relationship with you. Same with Daryl Duke Johnson, with Josh Aldridge, with
Durkin.
That's what I said. DJ Durkin and Kenyatta Watson.
Right.
Out of respect for those guys, if nothing else, these guys will show up or at least try to.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Trooper Taylor's towel. Are you about to knock down that hot board percentage on Fagen's after Fong's post? I am not. Steve Wiltfong posted Fagen's is going to LSU. I think on Thursday or Friday before Big Cat. He's coming to Auburn on Saturday and maybe.
I think it's LSU on Thursday, Auburn Friday night, staying for Saturday, and then potentially Alabama on Sunday. But nothing was confirmed there. But would it shock you if he showed up in Tuscaloosa? Probably not.
It wouldn't. And then he's announcing on Monday. I thought about that in the shower earlier. Like I think I'm at like 90%. And here's my thing is I'm saying, even with what he just posted, I'm still I feel 90% confident in my pick. I do.
I feel
and listen, let's don't forget, Steve Wiltfong just put in an RPM prediction.
Yeah.
For Fagen's to Auburn. Chad Simmons just put in an RPM prediction for Fagen's to Auburn, and that was with both of them knowing, I'm sure, that he was going to take these visits. So no, I do not TTT.
No, I'm with you, and I felt good about Anquan Fagens. I think going back to January, you and I first started discussing that name, and I felt good then. I feel good now. That hasn't changed for me. And so I think he ultimately ends in the class. I think Charles Kelly being at Auburn was the icing on the cake to get that one done.
And let's don't forget who's a preferred walk-on.
His brother.
Transfer portal.
Correct.
Right. Absolutely.
Caleb Harris is also there.
Caleb Harris. I'm telling you, I don't know that we've talked about this. Maybe y'all did while I was gone, but dude, the pipeline from Thompson is no longer west; it's south.
Correct.
Yeah, and
it's not I-20 west; it's 280 east.
I thought, and there was a discussion about this on the corner the other day, and I thought I had written something in my thread. I have a live thread when I go to these games on Friday nights. And I thought I'd written something that I talked to a few people there that had said, look, there used to not really be a reason for an Auburn reporter to be here, but hey, you need to be here now.
Yeah.
And I did. I wrote it that night, October 20th, 2023, and I reposted on the board the other day. I think that's true, guys. I really do.
I've been thinking about this in-state recruiting, and Auburn is definitely, and I think Alabama people would even concede, and they're like, oh, we're getting California. Yes, Alabama's recruiting the state of California. They're recruiting that West Coast because of previous relationships that their staff is bringing over. Those relationships are going to dry. They're going to dry out over the next year or two. They haven't been recruiting seventh graders. So those relationships will dry that they formed while at Washington or on that West Coast. They've got all these relationships that they're bringing over to Alabama, and those relationships are going to dry. Alabama's attention in recruiting, I believe, is going to come back in. Just a theory. Just a theory.
That would be normal, right?
Sure.
Because they're working they're doing a much better job of what Brian Harsin attempted to do at Auburn, which is recruit where your relationships are. And then as you continue to recruit the younger crop, continue to narrow your base a little bit and make sure that you're able to recruit that 6-hour radius we talk about that's so important in this footprint to be able to capitalize upon. So Auburn can kind of take advantage right now, right? So the in-state pipeline is open a little bit. Auburn can make sure that they go ahead and try to utilize their connections within the state, and maybe the tide will turn completely. Who knows? But I'm with you, Jeffrey. I think that their focus will continue to narrow as they move forward in other recruiting classes. But as of right now, Auburn's able to take advantage of that for sure.
Absolutely. Let's see. Wardam Don with a fantastic recruiting question for our recruiting show. We can turn this into recruiting. All right. In 2024, in the fall, what do you think Payton Thorne's stats have to be for Auburn to win 9 games, which we talk about might be the ceiling, but we've talked about on the Collins show, we can make a case for 10. Absolute great. Everything works out.
Yes.
Which would be huge in recruiting. That's what Don was trying to say. So what do you feel like Payton Thorne? I think he's the meal ticket here.
Yes.
The Auburn team only goes as far as Payton Thorne goes. So stats to win 9 games.
Stats to win 9 games and to help Auburn's recruiting moving forward, because if we win 9 games, I guarantee you that helps the recruiting, right?
Absolutely.
And then that gives you all kind of juice for NIL as well, because now you're going back to your donor base and you're saying, hey, this is what I did for this. If you're able to help me a little bit more here, what do you think I can put on the field next year? It just allows you to recruit end over end. But I would say the actual stats themselves, he's got to throw for 2,800 plus, 25 touchdowns, completion percentage of 65%. He does that and has about 300 to 400 yards on the ground. Auburn could win 9 games.
I think the most important stat for him is interceptions or lack thereof.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Smart man.
I think you cut. I mean, so his last 3 years of football, he's thrown 10 or more interceptions every season. 10 for Michigan State in 2021. No, 22. 23, he threw 11, and then 24. No, I'm back. I'm off. 21 was 10. 23 was – anyway, you get it. 10, 11, 10.
I'm pulling it up right now, Cole. I'm going to help you out here. Crack research staff.
Cole had one of Saul's gummies.
I was like, anyway, yes, Saul's gummies. He's got, I'm with you. That was exactly what I was thinking, Jeffrey. Cut those down a few, 2, 3. I mean, you're going to throw interceptions.
Sure.
That's not going to stop. But cut it down about 2 to 3, and I think you're cooking then.
So for the last 3 years, 2023, 10, 2022, 11, 2021, 10. So double-digit interceptions 3 straight years. Can you get it sub 10 and then plus 20 in touchdowns? That's probably the meal ticket, right?
Yes.
Check out the completion percentage. He's always above 60. Pretty consistent completion percentage every year.
So in 2021, it was 60.4%. In 2022, it was 62.5%. And in 2023, it was 61.1%. So again, that was kind of my point. If he can get to 65% completion percentage, you mitigate the amount of interceptions, you increase the number of touchdowns. That makes Auburn, I mean, think about how close they were in certain games. Alabama and Georgia alone, you're a touchdown away from icing those games. That's probably a touchdown better per game if you make those improvements, which would have put Auburn at 8 wins last year.
How about, and real quick before we move to the next one, go back to the drops. Okay. Let's cut the drops by 50%. Let's say he gets those back. All right. Now add 140 pass attempts to that, which is the average of what he was getting at Michigan State.
Sure.
And the completion percentage is still the same.
Right. I think his adjusted completion percentage, if you cut down half the drops, probably pushes him north of 65%, probably close to 70%
I
if I
think
was
so.
going
Yeah.
to.
Alan, when you're looking at 2021 and 2022, could Payton Thorne have either one of those 2 seasons again in 2024 at Auburn and Auburn win 9 games?
Yes, because in
Yeah.
2021, he was 235 of 389, so 60.4%, but for 3,240 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. He puts up that.
27.
Yeah, he puts up that stat line at Auburn.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's Auburn's gonna be tough if he does.
And I'm
that.
like, Cole, you drop 2 or 3, you get to 7, 8 interceptions, and instead of 10,
Yeah,
you ought to be 9-3.
you would think you're flirting, unless the defense is just awful. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like DJ Durkin just has a rash of injuries, and for whatever reason, we can't stop a nosebleed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Then okay, then there's a reason why. But I cannot see this defense being that level of bad. I think we're going to take a slight step backwards in the secondary just because of the youth. I love the talent back there, but I think those kids are going to have to grow up real fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. K.77. Is there a chance 2 of the, let's say 20, I mean, be more specific here, K. Dot. Is there a chance 2 of the 2025 quarterback targets are at Big Cat next Saturday?
A chance?
I was going to say that wouldn't be the first time until you clarified that it's 2025.
Right.
Y'all know what I'm talking about, surely.
I 100% know what you're talking about.
Go Blazers.
I don't even think he's there now.
I can't imagine KJ Lacey, Deuce Knight, Juju Lewis, 2 of those guys showing up. I just can't.
No.
I can't either. I think one of them will.
I'm with you, Cole. I don't know which one it's going to be again, but I do think they're going to get a quarterback at Big Cat Weekend. I mean, I've talked to too many people that said, hey, man, we're going to have our top targets here. We're trying to make this a splash weekend. We're trying to make this as big as we can. And I think that they're going to have somebody there. Who that's going to be, don't know. Honestly, don't care right now. That information will come next week. We all know that those names start to kind of circulate as we get into Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, we know who's going to be coming for the most part. And then obviously by Friday, you probably have a pretty much of a set list.
And we may not know until they arrive.
That's true.
If and when a quarterback shows, that might be something that we don't know until they walk up those steps.
I don't disagree with you.
I think there's going to be a few guys like that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's like, oh, yeah, especially 2026. Those are the ones that just show up and they're like, hey, that's the number 1 player in the country right there.
Right.
We had no idea who was coming.
Well, think about it last year. Nik Carr showed up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nik Carr committed to Georgia, showed up at Big Cat Weekend. Nobody, that was no one's bingo card.
Oh, yeah. I remember when he walked in, we were all like, who is that?
I mean, the last we had heard is that I was like, I'm not really all that interested. Auburn's not, where I want to be. And then he shows up at Big Cat Weekend, right? So you're going to have those kind of situations.
It's going to be fun. To me and Cole both, that's always the funnest thing is seeing who walks up, who walks in.
That's a good time.
It is. We'll be tracking that list. If you haven't already, it's on Auburn Live on 3. Go to football recruiting, go down to visits, and then click on that July 27th, and then you can toggle back and forth from 2025 class to the 2026 class and see who all is tentatively, let me emphasize that, tentatively planning to be at Big Cat. All right, let's see. Ranger 361, what do you view as the ideal success rate, people panning out, needed for high school signees in a class? So what percentage of the class, the high school class, needs to pan out for it to be considered a success? Am I reading that wrong?
No, I think you're reading it right.
Okay.
50%, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. Okay. 1 out of 2.
I think it's got to be 1 out of 2 has got to pan out. And when I say pan out, I don't mean you have to be an NFL stud, right? But you have to be a contributor. You have to be a starter. You have to be somebody that, provides some tangible trait to this football team that helps you create that competitive depth that you need to win championships. Because right now, I'm going to be honest with you, I like Auburn starting 22. I do. It's when you get into the 44 and the top 50 that I start to have problems with the overall depth on the roster. And that's why when people start talking about, hey, man, we got all these seniors and we could be winning 9, 10 games, I'm like, pump the brakes, big dog. And it's because I don't believe the depth is exactly where it needs to be to offset some injury and the potential of bad luck and or playing on the lack of an emotional high.
I'm with you. I think that I was actually trying to think back to some of these classes, and I would like to look at that 2024 class and just see the contributors that have already come from that as true freshmen this past season. I think that 2024 class, we're going to look back. Am I saying that right? No, the 2023 class. I'm sorry.
Yes.
The 2023 class with Keldrick and Connor and all those guys.
Kay and Jeremiah Cobb.
Yes. I think they're going to be potentially a 50% success rate.
I think that one has it. Go ahead. I'm good, Cole.
I have a counter question to the last question. Yeah, I lost it. It's not on the board.
I told you, Saul's gummies, dude. You can't take
Man,
that.
I'm having a rough night, dude. I'm actually
you sound like me, Cole. What are y'all talking about?
It's one of those nights. I'm looking for the last year's Big Cat list just to see who the surprises were, but I can't find it. That's the problem.
All right, so Auburn Sarge Wolf 559's got the final question for us for the show. Question number 10. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore of coaches that have coached at Auburn from a recruiting standpoint? I love this question.
Oh, for sure.
Who are the Mount Rushmore of coaches that have coached at Auburn from a recruiting standpoint? Okay.
All right. So are we talking assistants? Are we talking head coaches? Are we talking a combination? Okay.
Let's do assistants.
Okay.
We'll start with Rodney Garner.
Yes. Got to. Yeah, I mean, you think about Derek Brown, Montravius Atkinson. Montravius Adams. I'm sorry. Carl Lawson. And then we're not even talking about the group when he was recruiting at Auburn in the 90s before he obviously moved off staff. He was the tight ends coach initially, and some of the talent that he brought in from the Mobile area and other places. So absolutely Rodney Garner. I think Joe Witt has to be on that Mount Rushmore.
For sure. Absolutely.
As far as OGs are concerned.
Yes. Yes, I put Joe Witt absolutely. Rodney Garner absolutely. All right, so that's two defensive guys from the front seven.
Right.
Let's look at offense.
I'm thinking running backs, but who would be the guy?
I'll tell you what, Eddie
Gran.
Eddie Gran's okay. I was thinking Cadillac, Ronnie Brown, and those guys.
Eddie recruited all of those guys. So
and Dillard.
Yes.
Now that was after the Dillard 4 or 5, whatever, but he kept that pipeline going. Fort Lauderdale. So Eddie had South Florida, and then he recruited the quarterbacks. He's definitely on my under consideration.
Look at his skins on the wall. Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown,
Brandon Jacobs,
Trey Smith, Kenny Irons,
yeah, Brad Lester,
Ben Tate.
I
mean, those are all guys that played in the NFL with the exception of Brad Lester.
Eddie Gran is a huge reason why Auburn was still considered RBU through 2010.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, Eddie Gran absolutely has some legitimate skins on the wall. Other guys that I would consider from the offensive side.
So I'm going back and I'm thinking, listen, from not just a recruiting standpoint, from a developmental, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Hugh Nall.
Yeah. Oh,
just because he was so good.
He really was. I mean, anybody that can take defensive linemen the way he did and be able to project, that was the beauty of Hugh Nall, is that he would be able to look at a 2-star kid and say, hey, he can play or he can't, period. And I can develop that kid.
He always joked with me, and I still talk to him every once in a while. He joked with me that the only 4 or 5-star guy that he signed, and he's like, I'll never do it again. I'll trust my own about Lee Tilly. Yeah. Out of Ohio. He goes up into Ohio, signs this 4 or 5-star offensive tackle, and the dude couldn't play dead on a summer's day.
I heard a similar story about Leon Hart out of South Carolina. That he had a similar feel on that one.
Leon actually played
Yeah, that's true.
But Lee Tilley was, that was his shining moment in
Yes.
recruiting. Let's see, offensive line, tight ends, Insminger. I'm trying to think, tight ends coach. So right now we've got Eddie Gran. This is probably in the last 25 years. So
Yeah, let's go
as far back as we can go.
Right.
Eddie Gran, Joe Witt, Rodney Garner. Are we leaving somebody out? Like, oh my God, we can't believe we forgot him.
So I'm trying to account for longevity in this because
there's going to be somebody under Chiswick.
Yeah, because Trooper Taylor can't.
Taylor.
You can't not put Trooper on the Mount Rushmore, man. You
and
talking
Curtis
about?
Looper.
Yeah,
Curtis Looper. Yeah, I was thinking him too.
He's Cam Newton's.
Yeah. I mean, him and Trooper both went out to Blinn Community College and said, "Gus, we need to talk. we need to go recruit this young man."
And they've got to be somebody from Chiswick's staff. So I would say, I mean, there was a lot of good ones. I mean, Thickpen was good.
Yes,
there was a lot of good. So I would have one from Tuberville being 80 grand. Well, Joe Witt was from under Tuberville as well. Rodney Garner was Gus. And I would say Trooper from Chiswick.
And there's been a lot of guys that have been here for 2-3 years that I would, have as honorable mentions. Look, Will Muschamp was a phenomenal recruiter when he was at Auburn.
Yeah.
Dude, he's definitely under consideration.
Phenomenal recruiter. Travaris Robinson, phenomenal recruiter.
T-Will.
Yeah, T-Will, great recruiter. Underrated recruiter, Tommy Bowden, under his brother Terry. Tommy was fantastic.
Okay.
Just a lot of different guys at different times that have recruited really well for Auburn over the years. I'm trying to think of one other. Damian Craig.
Oh.
Now, I mean, look, Damian's Damian, but you cannot, as far as a recruiter is concerned, you can't argue with his bona fides, right?
There's the reason Cam Coleman was committed to Texas A&M last year, and it wasn't Jimbo Fisher.
No, absolutely not, man. Damian knows how to recruit. There's no question. There's no two ways about it.
And I didn't ever feel real comfortable with Cam Coleman to Auburn until we found out about Damian Craig.
I'm with you, man. Look, the second Jimbo got fired and it was like, hey, Damian's not going to be retained, done. He's that good.
Let me tell you who else I liked on a personal and professional level. Freaking Al Pogue.
Yes. Al's great and done a phenomenal job for Eli at Missouri.
Yes, sir. He had Scooby Williams committed.
Yes, he did. And then we got blasted by Georgia.
Yeah. I remember where I was. I was on the phone, and he had committed. And then a week later, he goes to Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him and who was the kid from down at Faith Academy? Shamar James.
Oh, yeah. Shamar James.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did any of them pan out?
Yeah.
Shamar has, yeah.
Okay.
Scooby hasn't.
Okay.
Did he is he still at Florida? Did he?
No, he transferred to A&M.
Oh yeah.
Elko's going to see what he can get out of him.
That's right. Interesting.
I'm trying to think of who else would be on my list.
I haven't asked me again in about 3 years. Charles Kelly might be on it.
I haven't covered it to that extent long enough for me to really have a big presence.
All right. Who's your eval? So Greg Brown, from evaluation standpoint of defensive backs, he's on mine. Who's the other defensive backs coach underneath Chiswick? You talking about
Philip Lawley?
Philip Lawley.
Philip Lawley would be under consideration. He's like a second ballot guy.
Yes, what I mean, because you're talking about another guy that was able to ID talent at an extremely high clip. Yeah,
it's incredible how many defensive backs Auburn has in the NFL right now. When you really break it down, Rudy Ford, Noah Igbenogany, Jonathan Jones, Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Smoke Monday, Jamin Sherwood, even though he's a linebacker now.
Yeah.
And got two more now, don't they?
Well, yeah, you're adding Jalen Simpson, Nehemiah Pritchett, and DJ James to that mix.
Yeah. Right. Well, and you think about
Roger McCreary. Forgot about
Roger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can't forget about Roger. But you think about who got that started, and that was Will Muschamp and T-Rob that started that trend. And then it just continued on. Greg Brown and Kevin Steele did a great job at IDing some talent. And Kevin Steele would be on my honorable mention list because Kevin was an underrated recruiter. There's no question about that.
So was Kevin Steele or was it Muschamp that brought Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean in? And that duo?
That was Muschamp and T-Rob. Yeah, Muschamp and T-Rob flipped those two.
But
From
Kevin
Ohio
Steele
State.
pulled the trigger on Roger McCreary, right?
Correct. Yeah.
That was a great eval.
Yeah.
Kevin he was pushing for Roger when he was a nobody.
Yes.
And I remember exactly where I was when Antonio Coleman walks in with Roger McCreary, and I took a picture of him because Antonio was my dude.
Right. You were just doing him a favor.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, man, get over here. I'll take your picture. Give me your information. I'll build your rivals profile. Ended up being what? Was he a first rounder?
Second rounder, high second round pick.
Yeah, just made it right outside of the first round.
Well, great. What a great question. I love those questions, man.
No, I'm with you, man. Anytime we can talk history and we can kind of just kind of bounce ideas off of each other, those are absolutely my favorite ones.
Let's do some how about yous.
Cole, you go ahead. I'm gonna pull mine out.
I have 4.
I'm gonna get through. I got 7. I'm gonna
Okay.
get through them quick though. I won't waste too much time here. Danny Pitts, I think, has just been awesome lately. I'm giving him another one. Danny Pitts has been great. Deb for AU gave me a nice little comment the other day. So
Spell it.
DEB, the number 4 AU. Deb for AU.
Okay.
Okay. Junius.
Yeah.
Is the one that somebody made a thread that said Cole or J-Head. And that was the thread title. And it had a question for us. Junius goes, man, who is J-Head? I don't know. It just owned me in the moment.
Junius.
Yes. T Walker. And that's TW4LKERR.
Good stuff.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been pretty active lately. He also has a picture, I think, of in a Prattville football uniform. So,
okay,
how about you for that?
Proud Lion.
Yeah. C Richie 8. That's CRICHEY 8. War Tiger 6 told a story that he was he had to do security for the Alabama game when the president was there. I thought that was a really interesting story.
Yeah.
And then P Diddy 98. He gets another one for me. He's been on a hot streak.
I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap because he feels as though he's talking from a realistic viewpoint, and some people disagree. Yep. But look, I can appreciate somebody that, just they're honest with how they see things, whether it comes off negative or not. You know what I mean? Because it's not like he's consistently negative. There's also some positive there layered in with him as well.
You know who the one guy is that sticks to their thing no matter what? They're not going to let anybody sway them.
Rice.
That'd be Rice. Always. And it's always Rice and P Diddy who get in the skiffs, So
yep.
But P Diddy's been good lately.
Ahead.
Okay. So in the Steve Wiltfong thread where he talked about Anquan Fagans, or is it Fagans or Fagans? I say it wrong.
Fagans.
Okay. KD, so it's KDTIGRAU or RZAU. I don't know how you say it.
KD Tigers AU.
Yeah, I think so. KD Tigers AU. Let me go back. Weagle WDE says, I will cut off my left gonad if he doesn't come to Auburn. That's how confident I am. KD Tigers AU says, we're talking about loose balls. It's getting real up in here. Bro, I got a good kick out of that one. And then my man, Stephen Queef.
Again.
Yep. Gets one. And then I'm gonna give old Eli double out one. He had some nice notes from the event that he was speaking at there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Some really interesting notes.
Yeah, I thought so too.
One of them
Very
was
interesting.
interesting. One of them was caught my eye. I'm not gonna lie.
Certainly.
And if you want to read them, go to Auburn Live on 3, the corner, AU1. Use that promotion. Get you 2 months for $1. All right, I've got 4. I've got Nick AU. How about you, big dog? How about you to Steven AU? How about you to Crab_Island?
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like him.
×2 for me.
×2. All right, I like it. And of course, Danny Pitts.
Yes.
My ×2 for Cole. So how about you to Nick AU, Steven AU, Crab_Island ×2, Danny Pitts ×2, Deb4AU, Junius T4 Walker, T Walker, T you heard, you know what I'm saying. C Richie 8, War Tiger 6, P Diddy 98, Katie Tigers, Eli Double Lot, and Steven Quee.
Mate, the old ×2, baby.
Oh, great questions tonight, folks. Appreciate everybody listening in. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please hit that notifications to know when those videos are released. You don't have to worry. You don't have to ask on the corner. You have those notifications turned on. Boom, right to your phone. You can listen or watch. We don't mind. You can be a voyeur. We don't mind. We like being watched. All right. If you haven't already, again, go to Auburn Live on 3. We're going to be tracking the Big Cat, which is coming up next Saturday, July the 27th. Going to be some commitments, we think. Going to be some announcements, we know. And we think some of them will be going Auburn's way. All right, that's going to do it for tonight, except for Auburn, Opelika, Lee County. If you're looking for a house, looking to sell your house, looking to move, look for no further for the help you need, Miss Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. She is a 5-star realtor. Give her a call. Tell her we sent you. All right, folks, that's going to do it, man. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We absolutely appreciate it. For Mr. Cole Pinkston, Mr. Alan Head, for Mr. Zach in the back, who stayed in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay in that left lane. See ya.